Hey there, how's it going everybody? Dan here with PlantAbundance.com. So here we are, it's fall time, second week of October in Northern California, the Bay Area. This is Zone 9B. Just wanted to give you guys an update, give you guys a tour. We're year 5 now in this project. This is a backyard food forest that I started putting together 5 years ago, and I've been documenting each and every year. If you've been following along, you've seen the full development of what's occurring here today. And we're still actually at a very young stage of this food forest, but there's so much to share, so much awesomeness happening. So come along, follow me, and I'll give you the tour. So down the path we go, and here's where all the plantings begin. And as I pan to the right, you can see I got a nice little patch of some Japanese long eggplants here. These have been producing a ton of produce for us. We've been out here picking almost on a daily basis. So you can see we still got some nice eggplants starting to form. Bunch of flowers all over the place. Here's Alice with one of the harvest. Next to the eggplants, we got these sweet potato vines. These were actually grown from cuttings that were purchased at the Asian market, and that's intermixed here with some turmeric we got getting started. So where this tent is where I want to put the yurt that I mentioned in last year's tour. So if you're watching that, don't have the yurt yet, got a little tent over there, and that's in the middle of this tree-collared forest getting established. This was put in the ground a couple months ago, and this is the growth with hardly any watering. Now, if I'd been watering this on a regular basis, these would be twice as big right now. They really grow quickly. And I'll just pan around again so you can get another viewpoint of the food forest here. And as I walk around, I'll try to pan around a couple times just to give you some different perspectives. Here's an aloe vera. Right here we got a nice little patch of yukon. And as I turn to the right here, you can see growing on the edge of the hugelkultur, I've got some more walking stick kale. Those were actually planted from cuttings from the mother plant. They're doing well, as is this chrysanthemum growing atop this hugelkultur. Adds a nice bit of color. And just 6 weeks ago we did quite a bit of harvesting from our summer crops off these hugelkulturs, and without any further planting you can see they're still looking quite abundant. All the greens are really liking the cooler weather now. Got some mugwort here. Here's a merit collared cutting. This has really taken off over the last couple weeks. The leaves are now beginning to get really large. I've got a few other examples of this plant growing throughout the landscape as well. Now as I continue forward, you can see this living wall, if you will. This is actually the edge of the chicken coop. This is just a 4-foot wire fence. And growing along the fence, I've got goji berries and purple tree collards. They seem very happy together. Eventually this is probably going to predominantly be just goji berries on this fence line, but this really does a great job concealing the chicken coop area, having it blend into the landscape, and at the same time producing even more food. Over here, this is the eldest moringa in the landscape. This is now 2.5 years old. I planted it from seed. It's come back twice now. It's overwintered. Died back to the ground but came back, and same as last year, same height. So it appears this is about what you could expect as far as height and girth goes from these moringa trees in a similar climate zone such as Zone 9B. At this point it's mainly putting its energy into creating those pods, which are very edible. And as we make our way back around, see we got a nice little stand of amaranth here. Whole bunch of tree collards. Especially since I took a bunch of cuttings from this area. You can see here's where I took a cutting, and there's like 6 different shoots now which have sprung up, putting up new growth. Just such an abundant plant. Over here I got a little propagation station. I've got a whole bunch of the abundant tree kale getting started here. And on the other side, I've got some Merritt collards getting going. And here, this loquat tree, you can see it's grown a couple more feet. Beautiful evergreen. And it was just last May when it was loaded down with beautiful fruits that were delicious tasting. And to the left of that, I've got some more mature abundant tree kales getting going here. They were getting attacked by the birds, so I caged them up. And here's a more mature example. We got the flock just hanging low, chilling under the loquat. Continuing on. Got a nice little patch of yacon going over here. And on the edge of that, this moringa, which I planted from seed, is now probably about 4.5, 5 feet tall. So that's looking promising as to a comeback next year, overwintering, I hope. Over in the corner there, we got the calamondin, which is a citrus, a small, sweet, lime-like tree. And we got these two pear trees just a foot from each other. I know it's crazy, right? But it's all about kind of pruning out the middle and letting it kind of candelabra out. Been having great success with this technique. And I'm not going to name every single tree, but at some point or another through these tours, they've all been named. These are some apple trees. And again, I'll just try to give you another perspective here. Over here, this is an autumn olive. This is another new addition for this year. Very excited. I've got 3 of these different varieties getting established. And below that, some sage. Down here we got some creeping thyme. The bees are enjoying that. And that's working as a living mulch around this young macadamia nut tree. That's also a new addition for this year. Behind that, I've got a honeyberry growing, and you can see that surrounded by all that green. That's a weed called mallow, which is actually inedible. Here's a nice looking rainbow Swiss chard bush. And next to that, we got another moringa here getting established. And the Mexicola avocado is doing pretty good. Now here's something. I've got a wide angle lens, but I'm going to have to try to back up to try to get this all into the shot. This is one tomato plant. It's completely engulfed its tomato cage, and now it's extending itself up and over the garden arbor, just taking over. I've just been letting it go crazy. We've been getting a slew of tomatoes off of this thing. Delicious. This is a Brandywine variety. They're known to get big, but I've never grown one actually this big. It's completely taken over this arbor. You can see there's plenty of new tomatoes. There's also a lot of new flowers starting to grow. And here's an example of some of the tomato harvests we've been pulling off these plants out here. Alright, so right here we've got the mother Merritt collard plant. It just went through a serious pruning and now it's really starting to flush itself back out. Exciting stuff here, guys. I'll be updating you on this. And to the left over here you can see where I'd taken a cutting from that plant last year, and now, just as with the other one on the hugelkultur, this one's really starting to push out a whole bunch of new growth as the weather's cooled down a bit. The leaves are getting really green, getting large. So this is just my favorite plant for making wraps. So look forward to updates on this plant. I know a lot of you are interested in it. Next to that, got this kumquat. See all the little fruits loading down on here. And the comfrey has been well established now all throughout the food forest as an understory. And over in this corner, this is the mother abundant tree kale plant. And although it's been quite neglected back here, it's still looking very healthy and producing quite a bit. Over here I got this cherry tree. Now there were 2 cherry trees in one plot here, and one of the trees started to develop something that wasn't good, so I went ahead and just took it out. And we got the grapes, which I need to now prune back, along with all the fruit trees. They need to come down about 3 to 4 feet, most of them, for the winter pruning. And I probably should have done most of this about a month ago, but because of the weather we're having this year, it's going to be okay. Here we got the immortality herb. Now this is often also grown as an indoor house plant, like from a hanging basket. It likes to cascade down. This is a very healing herb. Look into the immortality herb. I'm really trying to get this more established in this area. And those blackberry vines just cascading over the fence from the neighbor's yard. It's a beautiful sight. It brings in the bees. It just takes a little bit of management to keep it under control. I don't mind it. So I want to give you guys a different perspective coming up the other direction from this trail here, so I can show you the plants that are growing down this food aisle, if you will. So starting from the front again, here's the chicken coop. You can see I've raised up the nesting boxes if you've been following along. And I've got some storage underneath. Spent a lot of time getting things a little bit more organized and cleaned up out here. Over here I got the black soldier fly larva bin. Didn't get any use this year, but that's okay. I'm hoping to get this bin started up again next year. Over here I just got a simple Rubbermaid storage shed, but it's conveniently holding most of my gardening supplies that I need on hand, so I'm not having to walk back and forth. And the scooper and the rake there is predominantly used to do my doggy duty cleanup, and the buckets there are part of a composting system for that. The chicken coop, still a lot growing on in here. You can see the banana tree towering. We got the tree collards all throughout, the goji berries on the fence line, some calla lilies, some boxwood that the chickens like to go under. And this is an area entering into the food forest I really like. You can see all that shade on the ground. This would be full sun if it weren't for these trees. Now over here to the left on my pomegranate trees, you can see I've got a pest here known as the leaf-footed bug. Now these really don't pose too much of a problem unless they're in large numbers, so I just kind of let them be. They're actually really interesting looking creatures, but they've mostly just stuck to these white pomegranates here, and still haven't really done any damage to them, so I'll keep an eye on it. If population gets out of control, I'll do what I need to do to remedy that. But over here on this side, we got the wonderful variety of pomegranate. You can see the nice big red globe pomegranates. Take this one off the tree, get a closer look. That's what it's all about, folks. Here, this towering fig tree here is the Blanquette white fig. We got a couple dozen figs off this tree. I'm going to have to do some serious pruning on that to keep it in check. And we've got another wonderful pomegranate here getting established. Look forward to some fruits on there perhaps next year. And I got the compost tea brewing station set up over here, getting another batch going. This is what that looks like if you haven't seen it. And I go ahead and broadcast that out through a transfer pump, through foliar spraying and also root drenching. And next to that setup here, we got none other than the Santa Rosa plum tree. And it was just last June when we had a nice harvest of plums we took down off this tree. And I just buffed those plums up and enjoyed those for a few days. Oh, they were so delicious. So this arbor over here was covered with the calabash gourd, or the birdhouse gourd. I've since gone ahead and took that down. You can see all the gourds there drying out in the sun. Not sure what I'm going to be using those for yet. Some sort of crafts, I hope. We'll see. Next to the arbor, we got the Peter's Honey Fig. This is a big winner out here for me. You can see there's still some figs there. But a little earlier in the season, I was getting many harvests from this tree. Some of the most delicious figs I've ever had. So look into the Peter's Fig Honey if you like figs. Panning around to the other side here, this is a passion fruit vine. I got this in the ground late in the season. This is my first time growing this plant, really excited about it. You can see it's looking rather healthy. There was a compost pile here last year, so it's getting the benefit of all that breakdown below its roots. So you can see it's doing a great job crawling up the trellis. And my poor chaya plants over here, just a short time ago, this is what they looked like. They were just loaded with these leaves, and I was looking forward to getting a harvest and trying that. And you know, everything that I had heard out there said that these chaya plants were pretty much pest resistant. That hasn't been my experience. Slowly but surely, these leaves have been disappearing day after day. They're actually still very much alive. They're pushing out new growth. You can see the structure. They're pretty nice. But I'll be taking cuttings and hoping to overwinter those and solve that issue for the future. Here's a new addition, a pineapple quince fruit tree. And below that, got another little patch of mugwort. Back over in this corner over here, I got the dragon fruit, which is a cactus. It does really well growing on a trellising system, so I'm going to be building something back over here. And to the right of that, some more fig trees, a blackjack fig and a brown turkey fig. We got a good harvest of some nice plump figs this year, but for the most part, this tree just fed the wildlife. So over here, I got the Florida King Peach, and you can see now how it's just towering. It's somewhere about 13, 14 feet tall. I'm going to have to bring this way down. But we got another great harvest for the second year now. Nice plump juicy peaches, delicious. You can see pretty good right now the structure on these trees. As an understory over here, you got some more amaranth. That can easily be pruned to fit into your landscape as you want. And again, I'm not going to name every tree. Got a lot of fruit trees out here, a lot of different plants. Still getting zucchinis, mid-October. You can see some flowers being formed there. Now sadly, this tree over here, which is the Bella Gold Picatum, developed a fungus of some sort over this last year, and the tree's actually survived okay. It's pulled through, it's looking a little sparse, but it's starting to pump out some new growth here, and I've opted to go ahead and spray this tree with a copper fungicide. This is something that I wouldn't probably usually do, but I'm going to go ahead and give this tree another shot. In most cases, when something doesn't do well out here, I just want to yank it out and replace it with something I know will do well, or try something new. Over here I've got a patch of asparagus. And behind that I've got another autumn olive. Sometimes it's hard to see with all the contrast out here, but here's another ceanothus getting established back here. And as I move over to the next aisle over here, here's a great example of a more mature and established ceanothus. It put off some really nice blooms last year, and I look forward to seeing the blooms this coming year as it's grown quite a bit. Now here's something really cool. This is the jujube tree. We ended up getting about 10 fruits off this tree. Didn't document it, but you know, they're pretty delicious fruits. I'm excited to have gotten a harvest so quickly after just a year of having these in the ground. Over here is another new and exciting addition to the food forest. This is a star fruit tree. This is an experimental tree for the garden. See if it's going to do okay. You can see that new growth pushing out. And surprisingly, it's also putting out some new flower buds. So it seems like it's enjoying its new home here. And over here below the all-in-one almond tree, we got that beautiful red hibiscus, which has been featured throughout this year's season. I made quite a few batches of tea with that hibiscus, and it inspired me that I want to grow some more, so I want to get some different color hibiscus and get those spread out throughout the garden for next year. Continuing on, you can see here's another jujube tree. Very healthy. Didn't get any fruits off of this tree this year. Alright, so we'll wrap back around towards the center here. This is just a patch of Egyptian walking onions. I'm going to be transferring this out, and eventually what's going to be taking over this little center area here, I've got a pineapple guava getting established, as you can see. But over here, this is interesting. I've got this bell pepper growing next to this super abundant eggplant. This is just one eggplant. It's been sprawling out. And I noticed this the other day. You got all these new flowers forming on the eggplant, so everything's still booming out. Look at this bell pepper. It's just spread its way through the eggplant, and it's sprouting peppers within the eggplant. So they seem very happy together. And here's some more examples of the abundant tree kale. I just recently thinned out these two trees over here as well. And if you look close, you can see at each node it's pushing out new growth. So this is going to become nice and full and bushy as the weather continues to cool down. Here's another one here. But still putting off these delicious leaves in abundance. And below that, we got this almost fluorescent looking longevity spinach. I've been really just letting this patch establish and not harvesting all that much, but I'm about to take a whole slew of cuttings from it, overwinter it, and get this established all throughout here. And back there we got another autumn olive. You can see we got the hop vines there. And here you can see this hugelkultur mound over here. I've been doing quite a bit of chop and drop on the top. We got some basil here going to flower. I've already pulled out quite a few basils in the garden. Got a bell pepper. Some more chrysanthemum and some cherry tomatoes. So still a lot going on. I've got so many perennials now pushing out so much abundance. We've got another artichoke. Oh, over here, this is a new addition this year. This is a Jaboticaba tree. Now, I put this in the ground several months ago, and it's still alive, but it hasn't done any growing, so I'm interested to see if this is going to overwinter and establish for next year or not, but I will keep you updated, so stay tuned for that. So I got just about everything. I know I missed a few plants, but you know, we've made a full circle here now, and you can see the chickens are still hanging out in this little shady area of the yard, enjoying life. And I just want to thank you all for tuning into the video. If you made it till this point, to the end, thank you so much. So that does it. That'll wrap up the 2016 Year 5 Backyard Food Forest Tour. Thank you all for tuning in. And as always, I hope this video finds you and finds you well, out in the world and out in your garden, planting more abundance in your life. Take care, everybody. I'll be talking to you again soon.